We are live for our next founder chat today. It is with April from Some Good. We had some in our freezer over the last month, and I could tell you they left very quickly. They're very yummy. So I'm looking forward to catching up with April. We first met at a CHFA a while ago, and then on Dragon's Den, we were taping the exact same day. So I will wait for her to join in here any moment, and then we will get started for our founder chat. Let's see if she's in there. I see that she has joined. I will wait for the button. So let us know where you are watching from today. I'm in Vancouver, a little bit overcast weather. We're supposed to get a tiny bit of rain, which we need. So let's see if that actually happens. So let me know where you're also watching from, listening from, all those things. All right. There she is.
Hello.
I always laugh because it's like a two-step process and I always forget the second button. I'm like, nothing's happening. Yeah, user error.
That's okay. Me too. It's like, no, okay to do it. Oh, no, I send the request. All good. Great to see you. And thank you for the opportunity.
We are coast to coast right now.
We are coast to coast.
I love that.
The sun is shining here. It's not a gray day, but we did get some much needed rain not too long ago. And,
good.
But yeah, a lot of the country is definitely needing a little sprinkle. So lucky for you guys.
Yes, we do. I know. It was like 30%, and I was like, well, let's hope we get something. So fingers crossed that we get the rain where it needs to be. You know, our Augusts, that's a hard word to say. Our Augusts have been quite smoky these last, five-ish years. So
yes,
fingers crossed. But I wanted to jump right in. So I like to stick to a few questions that I ask all of the founders. But the first thing I, of course, want to do is to make sure everybody knows about your amazing company and why you started it. So the floor is yours.
Okay, great. So I'm the founder of Some Good, and we are electrolyte shot and freezies. So it's a dense little nutritional pouch that is packed with a punch. And the reason why I started this all comes down to our loved ones. So as my children were starting to get a little bit older and noticing some electrolyte beverages that their friends were enjoying, they were asking to have something similar. And when I started to look, I saw a lot of expensive water. And what I mean by that is water was the first ingredient, second ingredient was sugars or sugar alcohols, and then finished with a dye for that pretty and appealing color. And I'm okay with that from time to time, but it wasn't something I was comfortable with giving that to them every single day. So the deeper I looked into it, I really couldn't find anything that was really nutritionally dense and that had all the values that I was looking for with regards to an electrolyte product. And here's the second piece of the electrolytes is that potassium is something that 70% of Canadians are depleted in, and so sodium is something that most Canadians have too much of. And so when you look at a lot of electrolyte products, it's often high in sodium and low in potassium in that electrolyte compound. So we went with glucose naturally existing from the fruit we press, and then high in potassium and low in sodium to kind of really match what our dietary needs are today as things evolve.
No, it's amazing. I know all three of my girls are in sports, and even when I was in sports, and the cooler would come out, and we know the brand that was in there, and we know the ingredients, and then of course they switched to sugar-free, which was just artificial aspartames and acesulfame and everything else you don't want to consume. And yes, if there was not really a whole lot of alternatives. So having these options now, especially when your kids are sick, or adults or whatever, having something that we want to take that tastes good and that's good for you. So always leave it to a mama to solve that.
Yes, and when as I was going through this, I was sitting in on a call one day, and one of the questions was what is the problem that you're solving? And I talked about one of the other electrolyte companies on the market really have a salt finish, and it's in a freezy format, and it's often given back to the parent, and they just think, oh, they're just really ill or unwell, but not
Oh.
realizing the compliancy didn't come from the fact that they were really unwell. It was the salt finish. So making sure, again, when we were going through our formalization, that it really had that sensory that was pleasing and had a nice mouthfeel and taste and finish. And again, because we reversed the ratio, went lower in sodium, and made it a little easier, of course, for us to not have that salt finish at the end too.
That makes complete sense because, yeah, especially with kids or anyone that can't really tell you how they're feeling.
Right.
If someone just gives you something back, you're like, oh, like you're starting to worry even more. But really, what it is that they couldn't handle the product and they just didn't tell you exactly. So it's very interesting to think about, especially with our little ones, because you never really know, especially when they're sick, if they're just that sick or if
Mm-hmm.
they are not happy with what you've given them.
That's right. Exactly. All you want, you'll do anything for them to be feeling better, right?
Yes.
And the second you get something pushed back at you, to your point, you almost go into more of a panic, like, uh-oh, like this is actually worse than what I thought it was.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we first met at CHFA, and then we got to see each other again at a Dragon's Den taping, which was so funny that we both popped up on the same day. I definitely got to tape much earlier in the day than you did, even though we all were supposed to be closer to each other. So I do feel bad for that. When I heard how long you were there for, I was like, I don't know if I could have handled the anticipation. It would have just been like, I probably would have sweating through all my clothes.
Yes, no, the wheels totally fell off the bus. It was honestly, when you're almost over practiced and there's so much adrenaline and nerves, by the time we got out there, the first 5 minutes when we were trying to pitch was literally a crapshoot. Like any bird was dropping and falling, and we're just like, can you do that again? They're like, no, you can't. Like, we just rolling here.
Feel
So
like it's live.
but afterwards, like the production team was like, we are so sorry. Like
Yeah.
that kind of is because your day was super long. Like it shouldn't have been that way. But I mean, they are just so good at editing, because anybody that watched that, they wouldn't have felt that we had been in the green room for 9 hours.
Yes.
And just kind of like playing in our heads all day. What is this pitch going to look and feel like? And not only that, like when you went out on stage, were you amazed at the setup?
Oh yeah, no. And of course, they have to do different angles and they do this and there's like someone talking to you at the same time, like, hey, pause. Oh, now you're gonna try this again. And so you stand there and you're just like, you can see the cameras too behind them. And I was like, okay, focus. You need to focus. Stop looking. Don't worry.
And it was like pause, and you're like, pause at what part, right? Because again, you're just thinking forwards, not thinking
Yes.
pause and retape. Yeah, so it really took a little bit of practice, especially on the focus part. So it's like, oh, we're doing this part again. Okay.
What's interesting though, it's like when you get out there and you do have to be like on, and then when they tell you to pause, your brain really has to work at like remembering what your next step is, because it's a lot. It's not like we are on TV all the time.
No, well, exactly. It is, I mean, and it's also your pitching financials, right? So
Yes.
you need to put in like stage performance and pitching financials at the same time. It is a very intimidating stage. It's not like you're just at like a local Capitol theater and you
Yes.
have a little bit of lighting. No, it's all camera, all action. So yeah, it was
So true.
to get in a heartbeat, simply because that was tough, right? And it's
Yep.
cool to get out there and realize you really can do hard things regardless of what the outcome is. It was a really good practice of just really deep diving on the numbers, and two, just getting outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, 100%. I know someone said to me, would you do it again? And I was like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Even though it was nerve-wracking, the whole experience was amazing. I fully support whoever wants to go out there and try it. But yeah, it was definitely an experience that was needed.
Yes, exactly. That's well said.
I rewatched your episode, and you're right. The editing, you'd never know. You'd never know there was a fumble. It was awesome. And of course, I don't give it away if anyone hasn't watched it, but there definitely was a handshake at the end of it.
There was a handshake at the end of it. Yes. And if you were to watch it at the beginning, you'll notice that there was a giggle. Like I'm laughing at Matt, like not at him, with him. And it's because it fumbled so much at this particular piece, and it was just like, oh, here we go again. Like, here.
You're like, okay, 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 okay. So now I also had a handshake on mine,
Yes.
and everyone always asks the same question. Did the handshake turn into something more later on? So I have to ask you as well.
Yes, it did not. And it did not because, so the handshake was with somebody that's in the freezy business, but it's alcohol. And so look at the regulations with regards to production of food and the production of alcohol. It's very different. And so I actually would have made their production facility very complex based on.
Yeah.
So what looked like incredible synergies, it wasn't in the end once we really started to look at a little more granular and understanding what that, if we were to inject some good into that space.
Yeah. No, it makes sense because even with supplements versus food, a lot of people think that they should be similar, but they're very different. They're under different governing bodies. They're regulated completely differently, you know, the testing to everything. So yeah, no, it's when you think something might be similar, when you get down to the regulatory and the legal side, you're like, no, they're not. They're not the same, and it's a lot of work to change things.
That's right. And also too, like it would have been way too cumbersome. Like she would have been the one that was more so losing if we were to use that word.
Yeah.
Some good kind of thing.
Yeah. And you were like, but I'd be benefiting, so it's fine.
Exactly. I'm gaining.
That's right. That's all I gotta think about. All right. So I'm gonna go to my questions so that I do not forget them. All right. So number one, which you kind of already touched on, but how do you develop your products and what does your kind of process look like? I know you and Matt did the first two, so who knows if there's something on the horizon, but what's your normal go-to plan for it?
Yeah, so our process is very robust and tight because we work with fresh produce. So we start pulling our apples at 5 a.m. We freshly press them into a large tote in New Brunswick. Once the apple cider is finished in that pressing process, we quickly transport it over to Prince Edward Island to our co-packing facility. That's where we add in the electrolytes and we go right into production.
Oh, wow.
So that's how it's very, very tight. And that's the reason why we don't have to add in colors and dyes to be able to still get that robust flavor finish, and that robust, like, natural color finish is based on how tight our production is. And again, the freshness of our produce as well. So it's,
wow.
It's tight, it's tricky. Some would look at that as a big pain point and bottlenecks depending on what their process is, but it's also what gives us a very dense and a high quality product at the end of the day.
And so even with the berry one, are they all Canadian berries and apples?
Yes, they are. So our cranberries and blueberries, they come from Nova Scotia. They don't need the same amount of turnaround time. We can press a little bit earlier because they are preserved, and but our apples are not. So we do not do anything with our apples until we go into production.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And so the apples are what make the apple cider vinegar, or is that because you also have an apple flavor? Yeah,
so it's the process that they use when they make apple cider. Yeah. So they keep all the fibers and stuff in the apple. They're not going through all the filtering phases as you would like an apple juice. So that's why even like something that we've not looked into is just the gut biome that would be in all the fibers from naturally pressing the apple and it maintaining the apple cider finish. Because we're also only 60 milliliters, but most people would eat 3 and/or 4. So you would get a natural fiber count and stuff that would come through. But yeah, so that's like when we do freshly press our apples too, and even our blueberries and cranberries, they just have a little bit of a longer shelf life before we go in production. Is the fact that people talk about the flavors changing, like this apple product versus the next apple box might taste a little different. It's like a fine wine. It's the seasonality of that particular apple, or, you know, even when they were pressed from week to week, the sugars and stuff can change, the enzymes can change a bit, and we do not manipulate for it to have the same end result and flavor profile. We want it to through to where the fruit is at that point in time.
No, and that's amazing. So on some of our packages, because we use berry blends, and the berries, of course, depending on the season, have a different color, we've had to put on our packages like, okay, this color, because we use fruit to color our products.
Right.
It varies from season to season because some people will call and they'll be like, well, why is it so dark this time? Or why is it flecked? And why is it this? And I'm like, it's natural. I'm so sorry. But it's true because it's, nature has variety and we can't, unless you want to make it synthetic, you can't really have the same thing every single time. And that's also a benefit.
It's a huge benefit, but it's re-educating the consumer that that's what natural is. And even like in the grocery stores and stuff, we've been taught to pick the pretty apples and the sparkling apples, and that's
Yes.
always the best ones for us, right? So it's going back to really from the farm. What does that look like? And if you go and you pick a carrot out of the ground or an apple off the tree, you're going to notice a couple of blemishes, and it's natural.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's the same thing. We have not added it on our box yet, but we are going through a rebrand, and that is part of our messaging because we get the same feedback. This one's a little more purple. This one's a little more like the mauve. And I'm like, absolutely.
I love it. It's a little more mauve. I'll be like,
Yes.
this one's lavender. And you're like, yes, it is.
It is.
But I always love it because, when you have consumers that love your products, that's who notices because, of course, they're consuming it every day, which is also very positive that you have people that care this much about your product that they're letting you know that it's different. So, yeah, I'd say that maybe a sentence on the box might help you out on that one.
Yes, and that's my favorite. Like when customers reach out about that stuff, I always very, very thankful because again, to your point, one that they're super loyal if they're noticing a difference in your product and that it's a household item for them.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah.
I just noticed, okay, I'm on your website at the same time and I was like, what's the third flavor? But I just realized that one is apple and mixed berry because I got the berry one in the office and then it was like gone right away. I was like, where'd they all go? And everyone's like, well, we've been eating them. It's hot.
Exactly.
Because I
said potassium, that's what we're doing right now. So we're cooling off, we're getting some potassium, our brains a
that's
little
right. It was because I was like, well, I should have the box in my office so that I can show everybody that I ate it. And everyone's like, well, it's gone. We ate it like a while ago. I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. There we go. That's what it looks like.
That's what it looks like. And this is the apple. And then we also have a variety pack, which is half and half. That's kind of how I recommend people to, if they're ever to purchase for the first time, is to purchase a variety box. Of course, the apple to us, I always say, is like the vanilla of the world, and the mixed is more the chocolate of the world. And we all have vanilla lovers and chocolate lovers. And it's the same. Some good. You always, some people enjoy both, and then some people really prefer one or the other.
So now talking about shipping and products, because in Canada, of course, we're on coast to coast right now, even you and I, and getting things across the country can be challenging, especially with frozen and CPGs, but you guys don't have to worry about frozen products
because of our robust production. So our process is so tight, we hot fill, and when we hot fill, that gives us, and also the packaging type style that we use, it allows us to also lock in 18 months with regards to shelf stability. So that's also, again, a big part why we talk about it being a liquid shot. So any triathlete or anybody that's like even on the soccer field, they don't necessarily have time to eat a freezie, but they certainly do to cut one open and drink it back really quick to get their electrolytes, boost it back up. Baseball, softball, you name it. So that's one of the big things, and which really was a lot of our R&D, was making sure that we were shelf stable, because the end goal is to export and to be overseas, and shelf life of less than a year can be tricky, especially if you're going overseas. So we landed on 18 months. That's where we are right now. Of course, in the freezer, it would go much longer. But if you were to purchase off the shelf, it's 18 months. So when we go post, it's a brick. It's heavy. Every time people lift a box up, they're like, oh, wow. It's because volume to volume, this is pressed apple cider, right, with electrolytes and some antioxidants from our berries, and or water, right? So I talked about the expense of water. And so if you were to lift it pound for pound, or volume to volume, this does have a bit of girth to it. So I always say that we mail bricks, and it's expensive. But We do have some wonderful retailers like well.ca. So anybody that's going there, of course, you can get all your household items and, some good as you're going through your cart. Another great one that we work with that's online is Nature Market. They're fabulous. They're based out of Quebec, and same idea. They have a long range of household items, and then of course anybody that's locally to like Atlantic Canada would be Sobeys, or all of our Whole Foods locations and Metro and BC Choices. So we're in about 300 retail locations, and then we have 2 online retailers that are phenomenal and deliver door to door across
That's
Canada.
awesome. Yeah, no, we ship glass bottles across
Yeah,
the country.
that's
And every once in a while I'm like, oh. So I feel you on the, you said you're sending bricks across the country. We get to send glass bottles around the country.
Mhm.
And we wouldn't have it any other way. We won't go to plastic, but it's just the Canada's really big. And not a lot of people outside of Canada realize our distance and our varied temperatures and the logistics that go into shipping CPG products around the country. And it's like a whole little logistic world that we also need to learn about when we have these companies to make sure that we're doing it right and we're getting it done. And so having 18 months on your product not frozen is awesome. So congratulations. It's to those people out there that don't know how hard it is, you are doing stability tests. You can do accelerated, real time. It's not a cheap process. It takes, of course, a lot of time if you're doing real time stability, and it's extremely important. So congrats on that.
Oh, thank you. Yes, and on that note, there's so many wonderful, even like financial support, like with regards to, say, National Research Canada or the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries, depending on where you are, which province you're in. If you're working with CPG and you're looking at doing that type of testing, know that there's support locally for the most part, depending on the type of testing you're doing.
Oh, good. Very good to know. Because it is true. And every province is different. Actually, I
Yeah.
just got a list of grants that were coming out from province to province. And it was really funny. BC didn't have any. Like, they didn't have their own section. They were just part of Canada. And I was like, that's very unfair.
Yes.
I was like, where's our little button? I'm like,
Yeah.
that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so I do want to know that if you've been part of any programs, accelerators, community groups, something with entrepreneurs or that kind of eco space, that one that you would recommend, or how you felt that it was beneficial to you or some good.
Yes, one of them would be Atlantic Export. So that's, of course, here in Atlantic Canada. And it was it's a cohort that you spend with a number of companies. Often the group is around between 12 and 20. And we work through all of the preparation and know-how when you're getting prepared to export. So very important. Of course, anybody that's not ever exported is just even understanding like your trade commissioners, and there's so much paperwork and different, again, it's a long list and I don't want to bore anybody, but just know that there is a here, and it's well worth doing versus going in blind. So that one's something that I've done in the last year. And also in the last year, I joined Weeby, so Women's Business Enterprise. Yep. And that you need to be a minimum of 51% ownership as a female. And that one I've really enjoyed. The cohort's a little smaller. You do touch on a number of things from, again, oh gosh, my words are escaping me now, but anything with regards to the business ecosystem, from networking to understanding how to supply into big corporate to, getting your margins a little tighter, like it's been phenomenal. And also too, within that cohort, there's a wide gamut from like legal to taxation to gifting, you name it. So we all bring a little something different to the table. So I've been really enjoying Weeby. And yeah, those are the last two in this year that I found very beneficial.
No, that's I went to one Weeby event in Vancouver, and yeah, a lot of it was also how do you work with the government? So like a lot of the companies there were either like hospitality or like there was a cleaning company, and they were trying to get contracts with the government in the government buildings in Vancouver, and that's how they did it. They were part of the ecosystem, and they we're like, okay, you need this, you need this, you need this, and put your bid in and see how it goes. And it was very interesting to watch everybody collaborate and you learn more. And of course, it's valuable.
Absolutely, because procurement is no different than when you're trying to get ready for trade. It's or exporting. Sorry, it's a it's a lot to learn, and it can be a bit tricky to navigate in the beginning. And it's one of those things like I know that there's so much support out there if you lean in with a cohort and or a group and work through it together.
That's very true. Very true.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask one more question because we're getting close to time. Okay. Well, actually, I have two more questions, so I'll make the next one quick.
Okay.
What do you think your biggest challenge to date has been? It could be anything. And we'll go with that one first.
So the biggest challenge to date actually was an organizational change.
Yes.
Back in November or early October. Anyways, doesn't matter. Back in November, Matt stepped down from the business. So he has a job that was requiring a lot of capacity and no longer had any more bandwidth to give to Some Good. And I've been full time in Some Good since almost the fruition. So it created, it just got challenging for him to be able to be there. So ever since November, I've been kind of functioning solo. So sometimes I can seem a little scattered, and that's why I had to learn a lot really quickly. And first and foremost, can I handle this? Because we were really starting to take the training wheels off as we were on Metro and Whole Foods, having really great discussions with Healthy Planet, etc., and also getting prepared to export. And that was all happening at the exact same time. So that has been for sure the biggest challenge, but also the challenge that has allowed the company to grow the most. So it's interesting how those things, when you do a big dip, they always say what goes down must come up, and it is true. It is so true.
Yeah. And there's always those changes that have to occur. And you're right. I think almost always everything happens all at once.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, and this and this and this, and you're just like, okay, how do I see my way out of this? And as you take the steps towards it, you realize I can do this. I got this.
Exactly.
And so, yeah.
And like leaning in on my Weeby group, or leaning in on the Atlantic Export group, or leaning in, just, work with your network. Nothing needs to be solo. That's the biggest advice I can give anybody with regards to entrepreneurship. Solo it's a dangerous place. You need to spend some time brainstorming and working with networks, and making sure that, you're validating some of your thoughts and or working through them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I always think, even when you're working through a problem, you almost always already know what you want to do in the end. And you probably have already made your mind up, but it's nice to have a soundboard, to have someone who looks a little bit closer at some of the details you may not have thought about on the way to get to that result. So it's always nice to have someone else's opinion. Also, sometimes you find out that they've already done something that you're going to do, and they're like, oh, actually, sidestep that part because it didn't work well, and you'll be even better. So I completely agree with you. Lean into the networks you already have. And you got this one step at a time. I always think you have to take the one step, and then you're like, okay. And then you take a breath.
Exactly. No, absolutely. So no, that was definitely the biggest challenge, but at the same time, again, like these things happen for a reason, right? Like Some Good, a really, really cool path right now. And we got there with Matt, and now we're growing. We're growing differently, which that works too.
I love that. Okay. My last one.
Yes.
In the next 5 years, where do you see Some Good?
It's a great question. Well, definitely adding to our product lineup. We're currently in research and development right now. And if all goes well, we'll have a launch at CHFA Vancouver.
That's very exciting. That's not that far away.
That's not that far away, no, but that is the next product. And then ideally within 2 years' time, launch another one. So hopefully at least another 2 brand new SKUs come into market, and really want to secure some exporting for sure. And then that's to your point, Canada's huge. And not that we won't spend all of our time and money here, because we certainly are, but if we could work within a smaller country that has a higher population, and the logistics just get a little easier. We've kind of figured it out here in a very difficult landscape. I think that would be pretty neat.
Yeah, so that's very exciting. Well, hopefully I get to see you in a few of those export regions, because
Oh.
we are also doing the same thing. We have a few lined up over 2025 and 2026. So maybe I'll send you a little message of which ones we're going to, and hopefully we will see you there as well.
Well, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you so much, April. I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the Founder Chat today. And I look forward to catching up with you at the next trade show. And hopefully in the next year or so, we have another Founder Chat to see where Some Good is then.
That would be great. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.